Thoughts from the Basement, number whatever it is. I haven't kept track of the numbers like I had hoped to. I'm going to talk about discovery this time. About a month ago, I posted that I had marked a student wrong for saying that Columbus discovered Puerto Rico when the Taínos, native people, had been there first. This sparked a bit of a discussion on my Facebook page about Columbus on one hand and about discovery, a little bit about native peoples, land rights, that kind of stuff. And a question was raised that I'd like to address here. The question was raised publicly, so although I could respond privately to this friend of mine, I'd like to address it publicly, not just for his sake because it was a public question, but also because I hope that a lot of people will be benefited by my thoughts on this, whether you end up agreeing with me or not. Obviously, that's your decision, but here are some of my thoughts over the last month concerning discovery and human nature. We'll get to discovery in a bit. As a Christian, I believe that all people are made in the image of God. Stated in Scripture, Adam and Eve, everyone since then, all people are created in the image of God. Now, what does that mean? There are all kinds of different implications for that, but that says something about the inherent value of each individual in the world throughout history. Also in the book of Genesis, chapter 2, we have what's called the cultural mandate or the creational mandate. This is that phrase, that command that God gave our first parents, Adam and Eve, to be fruitful and multiply and rule over the earth. Another way to phrase this would be to spread out across the earth, have kids and more kids, and take care of the earth. The Hebrew word is shamar. So we, as the descendants, the inheritors of this earth, have that command from God, something that we're supposed to do with the earth. I also think, though, that although that command is outside of us, coming from outside, that it is also inside of us, and that as we look through history, we find that people have constantly been moving around the earth, constantly been learning about it, developing things from it, whether those things are industrial or technological or agricultural, whether they're social or have to do with governing, all these different areas of life that people have been working with since the very beginning. So I believe that that command is not only coming to us, but that there's some part of it that's inside of us also, that urges all people, all peoples, to be involved with creation in some sort of way. Now, obviously, we haven't always done what we should. That may be a topic for a future discussion or future presentation. If what I'm saying is the case, then as people run around the world, they do discover different things. New species, new plants, all that kind of stuff. New ways to build houses, how to adapt to your environment, or in some cases, how to adapt your environment to yourself. What does this have to do with Columbus? Well, we say that Columbus discovered America. Well, America is two huge continents, and he didn't discover both of them, and there were, even if you want to say he was the first European to discover America, that wouldn't be accurate because Leif Erikson was here a couple hundred years before Columbus, and there may have been Europeans before Leif Erikson, so we've still got to play with our definition of who's first as far as Europeans go. The question that came up on Facebook a month or so ago was the difference between discovery and people simply living in a place. So when Europeans bumped into what we've called the New World, because it was new to us as Europeans, what were the people who were here doing? Had they discovered anything, or were they just living here? Historically, and according to government and legally, what's been understood and what's in the rules is that the Indians, the natives, were living here and therefore had the right of occupancy but to the same extent that a bear or a bird or an animal has a right of occupancy, implied that the natives didn't actually discover anything. So they don't have the same rights as the Europeans, who were the discoverers, and we can point that back to the doctrine of discovery. Anyway, my contention is that if people are in and of our nature discoverers, then I would also hold that it's impossible for people to live somewhere and simply occupy a space. They will, by our nature, we will, as people, by our nature, discover things. We will learn things. We will assimilate that knowledge into our cultures and our views of life. Now, what we discover may be different from what other cultures discover. How we use what we've discovered may be different. But after considering this whole occupancy and discovery thing, I firmly believe that all people discover things. Then we get to the other issue of how do we give credit to whom credit is due for discovery, who gets land rights, who deserves to live in a given place, and all that legal and historical mess. I don't want to address that right now. I just wanted to address what is discovery and who does and can discover things. Thank you very much.